We live in a world that worships money. From the moment we're old enough to understand value, we're told that money is power, money is freedom, money is happiness. Society programs us to believe that if we can just earn more, save more, buy more, then, and only then, we'll finally feel complete. But the truth is that's an illusion, because money by itself has no soul. It's just a mirror. It reflects who you are, but it doesn't change you. If you are insecure, fearful, or empty on the inside, more money only magnifies that emptiness. Think about it. How many people reach their financial goals and still feel lost? How many millionaires and celebrities admit to feeling unfulfilled despite having everything they ever wanted? That's because money can only fill your bank account, not your heart. The illusion of money is that it promises control, but in reality, it often controls you. You start making decisions not from passion or purpose, but from fear. Fear of losing it, fear of not having enough, fear of falling behind. And when fear becomes your driver, no amount of money will ever make you feel secure. Real wealth has never been about having things. It's about being something. It's about knowing your worth beyond your wallet. When you tie your identity to money, you become a slave to something that can disappear in a second. But when you tie your identity to growth, character, and contribution, you become unstoppable. Because no market crash, no loss, no failure can take that away. You realize that your greatest asset is not the number in your account, but the person staring back at you in the mirror. The illusion of money fades the moment you understand that wealth is an internal experience, not an external possession. It's the peace you feel when you're aligned with your purpose. It's the gratitude you carry when you wake up knowing that life itself is the ultimate gift. True wealth begins when you stop chasing and start appreciating. When you stop asking, "How much can I get?" and start asking, "How much can I give?" Because the most dangerous illusion is not that money buys happiness. It's that happiness is something to be bought at all. The real treasure is already within you. Your energy, your creativity, your relationships, your love. These are things money can never purchase but can only magnify when used with wisdom. Once you break that illusion, money stops being the master of your life and becomes a tool to build something meaningful, something lasting. Everything in life is created twice. First in your mind, and then in your reality. Every fortune ever built, every invention, every movement, every dream started with a single thought. That's why wealth doesn't begin with money. It begins with mindset. You can hand two people the same amount of money. One will grow it, the other will lose it. The difference isn't luck, it's psychology. It's how they think, how they feel about abundance, and how they respond to fear, opportunity, and uncertainty. When you live with a scarcity mindset, you see the world through the lens of lack. You say things like, "There's not enough," or "I'll never get ahead." You protect, you hoard, you shrink, and without realizing it, you train your mind to survive instead of to thrive. But when you shift into a mindset of abundance, everything changes. You begin to see possibilities instead of problems. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I grow?" You stop competing for resources and start creating them. That's the power of internal wealth. It expands your world before your circumstances ever do. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you become. You don't need to wait until you have money to feel rich. You can start right now by practicing gratitude, by focusing on what you already have, by appreciating the opportunities that surround you every day. Gratitude rewires your brain for abundance. It tells your nervous system that you are already enough, and from that place, you make better decisions. A grateful mind is not desperate. It's powerful. It attracts what it appreciates. People often say, "I'll be happy when I have more money." But that's backward. You have to be happy first, and the money will come. Because happiness and energy are magnetic, they draw people, ideas, and opportunities to you. The wealthiest individuals in spirit don't wait for external validation. They create value out of thin air because their minds are already abundant. They see wealth as a flow of energy, not a pile of possessions. That's why when they lose money, they rebuild, because their real wealth never left. So ask yourself, What story are you telling yourself about money and success? Do you believe there's never enough, or that life is abundant beyond measure? Your thoughts are your fortune. Every belief you hold either limits your life or expands it. True wealth begins when you take control of your inner world, when you decide to think in terms of growth, contribution, and endless possibility. Because once your mind becomes wealthy, your life has no choice but to follow. Money is one of the most misunderstood forces in human life. For some, it's a symbol of power. For others, it's a source of pain. But in truth, money has no emotion, no morality. It's neutral. It's a tool, nothing more. The meaning it carries depends entirely on the hands that hold it and the heart that directs it. A hammer can build a home or destroy one. The tool is the same. The intention is what matters. And yet most people never learn to master this tool. They let it control their choices, their identity, even their sense of worth. The tragedy is that people spend their lives working for money instead of making money work for them. They trade their time, their energy, and their dreams for a paycheck, believing it's the only path to safety. But real safety doesn't come from what's in your bank account. It comes from your ability to create, adapt, and think. When you depend on money for security, you become its prisoner. When you use money as a servant for your purpose, you become free. The difference lies in who's in control, you or the tool. Think about it. Money can feed the hungry, educate a child, or fund a dream, but it can also be used to exploit, manipulate, and destroy. The same dollar can heal or harm, depending on who holds it. That's why character must come before cash flow. If you build wealth without purpose, you'll end up empty. If you build purpose and integrity first, money becomes a multiplier of your impact. The richest life is not the one with the biggest house, but the one that uses its resources to make the greatest difference. Most people chase money because they think it will buy freedom. But freedom isn't something money can give you. It's something you give yourself. Freedom is the ability to live by your own values, to spend your days doing what fulfills you, to give without fear. Money simply amplifies who you already are. If you're generous, it makes you more giving. If you're greedy, it makes you more desperate. That's why mastering money starts with mastering yourself. When your heart is aligned with purpose, money becomes a powerful ally instead of a dangerous master. So never worship money and never fear it. See it for what it is and a tool for creation. Use it to build, to serve, to elevate. Let it flow through you, not control you. Because in the end, the goal is not to die with wealth, but to live with impact. When money serves your mission, it adds meaning to your life. When you serve money, it takes that meaning away. Master the tool and you'll master your freedom. Life never stands still. Every second of every day we are in motion, growing, evolving, expanding, or quietly decaying from the inside out. There is no neutral ground, no safe middle where we can coast and expect to remain the same. The law of life is movement. The heartbeat never stops until the end, and neither does the process of change within us. Everything alive must grow or it begins to die. That truth applies to nature, to business, to love, and to the human spirit itself. The tragedy is that many people believe they are staying the same, when in reality, they are slowly declining because growth requires energy, effort, and intention, while decay needs nothing but neglect. Growth is not something that happens by luck or external force. It is an internal decision. It begins when we choose to challenge ourselves, to stretch beyond what is easy or familiar. Growth happens when we wake up each morning and decide to make today slightly better than yesterday. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's the small steps, choosing to learn, to forgive, to keep going, that shift everything. The mind grows when it's fed with new knowledge. The heart grows when it learns to give and receive love without fear. The soul grows when it faces discomfort and still chooses to rise. Every area of your life is a living system. Your mindset, your relationships, your career, your body, and every one of those systems is either expanding or contracting. Decay, on the other hand, is the path of least resistance. It asks for no discipline, no awareness, no courage. It begins quietly, often disguised as rest, comfort, or peace. You stop reading, stop learning, stop asking questions. You stop pushing yourself, stop taking risks, stop caring about the small disciplines that once shaped your strength. At first it feels harmless, even comforting. But slowly that comfort becomes a cage. The same routines that once felt safe start to suffocate your potential. Decay doesn't announce itself. It simply waits for your energy to fade. One day you wake up and realize you've lost the hunger, the fire, the sense of purpose that used to drive you. That's how decline begins. Not with a crash, but with quiet surrender. What most people call peace is often the slow death of ambition. We tell ourselves, I'm fine. I don't need to change. I'm comfortable. But comfort is not peace. It's decay dressed as satisfaction. The moment we stop growing, life begins to lose its color. We start living in memories instead of possibilities. The passion that once defined us turns into nostalgia, and we convince ourselves that the best days are behind us. That is the lie decay whispers, that safety is happiness. But there is no safety in stagnation. The safest place for a ship is the harbor. But that's not what ships are built for. The safest place for a soul might be in routine, but that's not what the human spirit was created for. You were designed to evolve, to reach, to expand. Growth demands something from you. It demands effort when you feel tired, faith when you feel lost, and courage when you feel afraid. But in return, it gives you life, strength, meaning, and fulfillment. It gives you pride in who you're becoming, not just comfort in who you've been. You can't avoid the pain of life, but you can choose the pain that serves you. The pain of growth shapes you. The pain of decay destroys you. Every day, with every thought, every habit, and every decision, you are casting your vote for growth or decay. So ask yourself, right now, am I growing or am I decaying? Am I pushing forward or am I slowly letting go? Life won't wait for you to decide. It's already moving, and whether it moves with you or without you depends entirely on the choice you make today. Because everything that is truly alive keeps growing. Growth begins the moment we stop lying to ourselves about where we truly are. Real transformation doesn't start with motivation. It starts with honesty. You can't change what you won't confront. The greatest obstacle to personal growth isn't weakness. It's denial. Most people would rather live with a comforting illusion than face an uncomfortable truth. They tell themselves they're doing fine, that things are okay, when deep down they know something inside has gone quiet. But pretending that everything's fine only feeds decay. Growth starts when you face the parts of yourself that are no longer alive. The dreams you buried, the goals you postponed, the standards you lowered just to feel safe. That confrontation is painful, but pain is not your enemy. Pain is the alarm clock of the soul, ringing to wake you from the numbness of mediocrity. When you begin to feel discomfort, frustration, or restlessness, that's life whispering that it's time to grow again. Those feelings are not punishments. They are invitations. Growth always demands discomfort because it forces us to stretch beyond what we know. Every meaningful transformation begins with the recognition that the way you've been living is too small for who you're meant to become. But instead of listening to that calling, most people silence it. They drown it out with distractions, entertainment, endless scrolling, or shallow conversations that keep them from hearing their own truth. The more you run from pain, the more powerless you become. Because what you avoid controls you, and what you face you can transform. Pain is information. It tells you where the growth is needed. If your relationships cause you pain, it's showing you where connection must deepen. If your body aches, it's asking for movement, discipline, or healing. If your career drains you, it's signaling that your purpose has outgrown your environment. Yet, instead of listening, we label pain as a problem to eliminate, not a message to understand. We pop pills for mental fog, scroll away loneliness, and call it coping. But coping is not the same as healing. Healing comes from awareness. Awareness leads to change. The moment you stop numbing yourself and start asking, what is this pain trying to teach me? That's when growth truly begins. Growth requires courage. The courage to face your truth without running, blaming, or justifying. It's easy to say, I'm not ready, or it's not my fault, but those phrases are how decay speaks through your fear. Growth says, I take responsibility. I may not have chosen my past, but I will choose my future. Every powerful person you admire once stood at that same crossroad, the choice to stay comfortable in denial or to rise through discomfort. The difference between those who transform and those who stagnate isn't intelligence, luck, or opportunity. It's honesty and ownership. The moment you say, "This is where I am and this is what I must change," your power returns. The truth will set you free. But first, it will shake you to your core. It will show you the patterns you've ignored, the habits that sabotage you, the relationships you've settled for, and the dreams you've abandoned. That realization can hurt, but it's the pain of awakening, not destruction. Every breakthrough begins with breaking something. Your illusions, your limits, your excuses. The person you are right now cannot reach the life you dream of without shedding the skin of who you used to be. The old version of you must decay for the new one to grow. So don't fear pain. Respect it. Let it be your compass, not your cage. When pain arrives, ask, "What truth is this showing me?" That's how you convert suffering into strength. Because pain doesn't break you. Denial does. When you face the truth, you don't just grow. You awaken. And from that awakening, you build a life that isn't just fine, but truly alive, filled with passion, power, and purpose. Growth begins there in that sacred moment when you finally stop running and start rising. Decay thrives in hesitation. The moment you pause long enough to doubt yourself, decay begins its quiet work. Life rewards movement, not perfection, not certainty, but momentum. The people who wait for the right time, the perfect plan, or the ideal situation are the ones who unknowingly drift into decline. Because while they wait, life keeps moving. Opportunity doesn't knock forever. Energy fades, confidence dies in stillness. Every moment you spend second-guessing yourself is a moment lost to fear. And fear left unchecked is the seed of decay. Growth, on the other hand, is born from action. It's built on the willingness to move before you're ready, to step forward even when your knees shake. Hesitation is seductive because it disguises itself as wisdom. It whispers, "Think a little more. Wait until you're sure. Don't risk it yet." But the truth is, most hesitation is not wisdom. It's fear dressed up as logic. Your mind wants safety, not growth. It wants control, not uncertainty. But control is an illusion. The longer you wait for everything to align perfectly, the more you lose your edge. Life doesn't reward the most prepared. It rewards the most courageous. The world changes for those who are willing to act despite the unknown. Action is the language of growth. Hesitation is the silence of decay. You see this truth in every area of life. The person who hesitates to speak their truth loses their voice. The one who hesitates to pursue their dream eventually forgets how to dream. The one who hesitates to love deeply ends up living shallowly. Hesitation doesn't just delay life, it drains it. Over time, you stop trusting yourself. You start believing that you need permission to act, validation to move, or guarantees to begin. And that's how decay takes over, not through disaster, but through indecision. Every excuse, every someday, every maybe later becomes a brick in the wall that separates you from your potential. Growth, however, is fueled by urgency, not panic, but purpose. Urgency is knowing that every breath is a chance that will never come again. It's the deep understanding that time is not promised, that today could be the last opportunity to become who you were meant to be. Urgency wakes you up in the morning with gratitude and fire. It drives you to act while others are still overthinking. When you live with urgency, you stop waiting for life to happen and start creating it. You stop being a spectator and become a participant in your own destiny. This doesn't mean rushing or living in chaos. It means living awake, fully aware that every choice carries consequence and every delay has a cost. Growth comes to those who value progress over perfection. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just have to trust that movement itself will reveal the path. When you take action, clarity follows. When you hesitate, confusion deepens. The universe responds to energy, and nothing sends a stronger signal than a heart that moves with conviction. So ask yourself, what have you been postponing? What idea, dream, or change have you been keeping on hold while waiting for someday? There is no someday. There is only now. Growth is not an event. It's a decision, repeated daily, in the face of fear. Every time you choose to act, you strengthen your spirit. Every time you delay, you feed your doubts. Hesitation and growth cannot coexist. One must die for the other to live. When you live with purpose and urgency, hesitation loses its grip. Fear turns into fuel. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I never try?" That's the moment decay begins to die. Because hesitation might feel safe, but it costs you your future. Action might feel risky, but it's the only way to truly live. So move. Even if it's small, even if it's uncertain. Momentum is life. And life, at its core, belongs to the ones who refuse to wait. Growth demands sacrifice. You cannot hold on to everything and expect to rise. You cannot become the next version of yourself while still clinging to the comfort of the old one. Every new chapter of your life will require you to let go of something, a belief, a behavior, a relationship, or a piece of your identity that no longer serves your future. Most people want change without loss, progress without discomfort, evolution without release. But that's not how life works. You can't climb a mountain while holding on to the ground. Growth is not about addition. It's about transformation. And transformation always costs something. Comfort zones are seductive. They whisper promises of safety and stability. They make you believe that staying still will protect you from pain. But comfort is deceptive. It's the velvet cage of decay. It numbs your hunger, quiets your ambition, and convinces you that mediocrity is peace. Every great dream, every breakthrough, every story of human greatness was born in discomfort. The gym is uncomfortable. Learning is uncomfortable. Healing is uncomfortable. Yet discomfort is the birthplace of power. Those who run from it never grow, and those who embrace it become unstoppable. The truth is, your comfort zone isn't safe. It's dangerous. It's where your dreams go to die. Because every time you choose ease over effort, you teach your mind to settle. Every time you choose what's familiar instead of what's right, you lower your standards. Decay doesn't come from failure. It comes from fear disguised as comfort. If you want to expand your life, you must first expand your tolerance for discomfort. Growth demands that you walk into uncertainty with faith, that you trade temporary pleasure for long-term fulfillment, that you give up the illusion of control in exchange for the possibility of greatness. Sacrifice isn't punishment. It's refinement. It's the process of burning away everything that's small in you so that what's real can remain. The person who sacrifices for growth doesn't lose, they evolve. Think about it. A seed must crack before it sprouts. A caterpillar must dissolve inside a cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. Fire must consume the old forest before new life can rise. Nature shows us the truth. Destruction is often the first step of creation. What feels like loss is often transformation in disguise. When you choose growth, you choose to say goodbye to who you used to be. You may outgrow environments, friendships, or even versions of yourself that once felt like home. That's not betrayal. That's evolution. You are not meant to live your entire life at the level you started on. You're meant to rise, to stretch, to keep becoming. The people who resist that truth cling to their past and call it loyalty, but it's actually fear. Fear of being alone, fear of change, fear of the unknown. But growth doesn't happen in the known. It happens when you step into what scares you most and keep walking anyway. The price of growth is discomfort, discipline, and consistency. The price of decay is far greater. It's regret. You can pay the small price of effort today or the heavy price of disappointment tomorrow. The pain of growth is temporary. The pain of decay is endless. When you sacrifice for growth, every moment of struggle, every tear, every sleepless night becomes an investment in your future self. You may not see the results immediately, but one day, the person you've become will thank you for the courage you showed today. So ask yourself, what am I willing to let go of to rise higher? What comfort am I willing to sacrifice for my next chapter? Because everything you hold on to that no longer serves your evolution becomes the weight that holds you down. Growth demands that you release it. It's not about losing. It's about making room for something greater. The person who refuses to sacrifice will eventually sacrifice their dreams. But the one who dares to let go will discover that life always replaces what you release with something infinitely stronger, freer, and more alive.